I'll be talking about Cosmos DB and throughput in particular. We're going to dive into a little bit on request units and figure out what they are and kind of help you understand what it means to work with request units. So a request unit, like all the other units inside of Azure, compile things like CPU, memory, and IOPS so that you have a unified pattern of which to work. So it's great, right? They hide all the complexity for you and then give you this number and say, figure out what you need. Well, typically speaking, we work with a baseline when it comes to request units, that one request unit in a second would typically deliver a 1K JSON file back to you in a read-only scenario. So if I want to read 1K of JSON document of 1K size, is typically one request unit. Request units are also done by second. So as you start to figure out your capacity that you're going to need, remember it's a per second operation. It essentially gets renewed every second. So if I request 20 RUs per second, every second I get another 20 RUs in the region I'm working in. More about that in a minute. So as I start to look at that, what does that mean impacted? So I got my read figured out. What about writes? Well, a write operation will require more of these request units than a read will. And that's because when you write a document, for instance, it doesn't just write the document in. Maybe the actual process of writing the document into the database is one request unit. But how many indexes have to be updated? Each of those are going to require a part of a request unit or a full request unit or more than one request unit. In order to update all the indexes, the part that makes the whole process powerful is that ability to automate some of those processes. However, you need to account for that when you're actually estimating. So we recommend you look at the Cosmos DB capacity planner that Microsoft provides. It looks at a number of different types of operations and helps you make an estimate based on your average document size, the number of times you think you'll read it, the number of times you think you'll write it in a second, and be able to do that operation and then factor in what does that look like. So then it'll give you a request unit recommendation, and that's where you can start with. You can start with that recommendation and then see what you need to do to scale up or down as needed. Another thing to be aware of with request units is this, unlike other capacities, you actually are buying this capacity up front. It doesn't carry over. It doesn't get reused. It doesn't go away because they're putting an SLA behind the throughput that you've requested. So if you requested 20 RUs a second, so I'm going to get 20 request units a second, whether I use them or not, that's what I'm getting charged for. That's also the peak in which I'll be throttled if I go over. So if I end up going to 25 request units in that second, my 5 of those requests will be throttled back and we'll either get errors like in read scenarios or slow down the write process, something to that effect. But you're getting throttled at the end of the day. So once you're done being throttled, and it resets the next second, you're ready to go. Typically speaking, most applications can absorb that without it being a big deal. But if it happens on a regular basis, you may want to increase the number of request units that you have reserved to make sure you're getting the capacity that you need to support your application. Just keep in mind, once you reserved it, you bought it. The other thing to keep in mind is it's not like doing request units for your entire application. You're reserving capacity at the region levels. So if you have 5 regions that are read and you got 20 request units per second that you have set up for those read environments, you actually are being charged for 100 request units a second because you're supporting every region at that capacity. So you're going to have to do some capacity planning at the region level as well, and make sure you understand exactly what it is that you're paying for and what you need to have as capacity to support your applications. So as you build it out, you're going to provision those per region, and you'll probably provision your primary replica a little higher because you're going to have more write as well as read in that region, and that gives you that scenario. So hopefully that gives some clarity around request units and what they are, and just another unit of measure that we get to be billed by in Azure. But it's very important to match it to the scale that you need to be in. If you have any questions about request units, Cosmos DB, or anything else Azure, click the link below for more information. We'd be happy to reach out and talk to you. Thank you and have a great day.